have a company called Plantepakken. We send plants in packages here in Denmark. I have a relationship when I go to work with the people I work with. We work for like a common goal and we want to achieve something together. And that's actually what creates meaningfulness in my life.
Where do you think this gut feeling or this entrepreneur by heart comes from?
I've always loved to sell things and to trade things. So, I was that kind of kid in school. I brought my own candy and sold to the other kids. When I was a little bit older, I knocked doors around the neighborhood and offered to cut the lawns. So I think you can have it as a DNA in you that you like to, be your own boss and take initiative to create something. But I also think it's something you can learn. I recommend for people who have a risk profile like mine to maybe just experiment and try something and pursue the hobbies and try different things out. And then when you can feel it starts working, then you can actually, with more ice in your stomach, just say, okay, now I want to bet on this thing.
Do you think that sports have had an impact on the way you perform at work?
100%. Yeah. Not in many aspects of life, also how you work with other people. Yeah. Like I've played football and of course there's the whole aspect of training, but it's also a team sport and you need to work together when you play on the pitch, but you also need to be part of a community.
Is there such thing as a purposeful life? I am Josué Hernandez and this is what I'm trying to find out, meeting with inspiring people from all countries, backgrounds and ages. This is a conversation with Torfin Georgsen, a Danish entrepreneur and the co-founder of Plantepakken, a growing startup in Scandinavia that sells plants to companies as welcome gifts for their new employees.
How long it's been since we met? It's been from 2015.
Wow, it's been that long, yeah, 9 years.
It's almost going to be 10 years that we know each other. And we have a lot of things in common. Like you went to live to Mexico, I came to live in Denmark. You even came to my university in Mexico, I came to your university in Denmark, and we spent a lot of time together. And I feel that when I came here to Denmark to study, and that I met you, I felt that there was a very special mix in you of a Danish guy, 100% Danish, but at the same time there was a lot of Mexico in you. Because of your experience there.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I had the 1 year when I was very young. I was 16, 17 years old, and then I moved to Mexico and lived with a Mexican family without knowing anything about Mexico or the culture there, or not even one word of Spanish. So you could say when you live an experience like that, it's kind of a culture shock when you come from Denmark, because it's two different societies in two different worlds. So I would say that's probably the year in my life that formed me the most. How to see things and put things in perspective also. So yeah, I guess it's something. And when I talk to other people who move to the States or Australia or another country in Europe, and they live there in a young age and they go there by themselves and really live the cultural experience of living with a family, then it's something they will never forget and actually also forms them many years after they live that experience. So I guess that's the same thing about me. So I can really relate. When you showed up and I was your buddy in the CBS program where I studied, then it was pretty easy to tap into where you were from and the culture, and so we clicked, I would say, pretty easily.
Yeah. Do you think it makes a difference going to study or to live abroad when you are younger than when you are older?
Yeah, I think so. I think it can also form you when you're older, but when you go in such a young age, you're so, how do you say, the way you see things and you experience things, you're pretty naive. So you want to try a lot of things and you're not afraid of trying things in a young age. At least that was the case for me. So that's also why it forms you very much, I would say. And probably when you get older, it's hard to go out of your ways, because you are kind of the person you are, but to become that person, it's actually something that's formed from a very young age. So I think when you go abroad or you live other strong experiences from a young age, that's something that really forms you into the person you're going to be when you grow a little bit older.
Of course.
And that can be a lot of different things, not only going on exchange, but all kind of other things it could be.
Yeah. What is another experience, like strong experience that you lived that was not living abroad? Like back at home, you're from Odense.
I'm from Denmark, so like a small city, but not a very small city in Denmark. But compared to other cities around the world, it's pretty small. So it's the third biggest city in Denmark, and I'm not sure, but I think it's with a population of maybe 100,000, 200,000 people, maybe a little bit more. So I come from a society where I didn't grow up in the city of Odense, but in the suburbs. And when you grow up there, then you know everybody in that suburb. So that's where I grew up. And with my mom and my dad and my younger brother. And my parents got divorced when I was 13, 14. That's also of course a strong experience, but it happens to many. It's not like in Mexico where people stay together, where marriage is forever. A lot of people get married in Denmark, and then I think it's almost 50% of married people in Denmark who end up getting a divorce. So that's also like a strong experience to go from, having this family that's normal, and then you go and live with your mom one time and with your dad. But it's never been a problem for me to do that. But of course, it is kind of a shock when it happens.
I can imagine that it's not easy for anyone. It doesn't matter which culture you come from.
No.
But at the same time, I'm sure you can get, as I said before, you look at life very positively about in multiple perspectives. I'm sure you got some positive things you got out of that. Is that correct?
100%. I think it kind of gets you closer to your parents, even though that it sounds weird, because you live an experience that involves emotions and so on. So I would actually say that it created a closer relationship to both my mom and my dad, and also my brother.
Interesting.
But it's not a big trauma to me. It's my mom and my dad. They're good friends today, and it's never been a problem. So other strong experiences I've been trying from an early age. I would say like doing sports is also something that can form you from an early age. I've always been playing a lot of football. Going to practice like 3-4 times a week, and taking it serious from an early age. That's also something that can give you a lot of tools in your toolbox and can help form you. So that's also something I'm very happy for, that I experienced from a young age. That if you want to achieve something and you want to be on the best team, then you have to practice and go to training, and you have to put a lot of time and effort into it. So I think that's also something that's positive, looking back from my childhood, that you can use today. Competitiveness and so on.
In Mexico, football is also a very important sport. And I remember that I had friends that took it very seriously, that wanted to be professional players. And when I think about it, to me it's normal, because I also wanted at one point. It's kind of like the dream of a lot of Mexicans to become a professional football player.
Of course.
And I trained very hard. I still remember that I would get out of, for example, from school, go to eat at home, and then I would go train for like 4 hours, or 3-4 hours, and then get back home, and then the next day repeat the same thing: school, eat, and then go back to training. But something that is different here in Denmark to Mexico is the weather. I can't imagine. I remember that if it was cold, when I did my exchange in the US, that I would play American football in the cold, everything changes. Your body feels different. I think it's kind of easier when you have good weather to go play outdoors. Do you think that going to train football outdoors in the winter, for example, when you were a little kid, was also something that made you more resilient, for example, because you told me that you have to go to train by yourself, right? You didn't go. Your parents didn't take you to training. You went on the bike.
Exactly. Looking back on it, it's probably something you don't think about when you're born and raised in Denmark, like the weather conditions. And the winter is very long and dark here. So it kind of also forms the way you are. There are like two moods for Danish people. One when in the winter time, when it's dark and sometimes the snow and it's cold and the sun only shows for maybe 5-6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then the summertime, everybody is out and having a good time, and it's these late nights. And I can also feel it on myself. When it's winter, I'm a different person than when it's summer.
Yeah, totally.
But you're right. It is something when you go practice 4 times during the winter. And when I was a kid, you didn't have like these heated pitches like you have today.
Oh, really?
It was like on these stone pitches, so it was sometimes they were frozen to ice.
What?
And it was actually dangerous to play there when I think back on it. But it was just the way it was, so you didn't think too much about it. You just did it because everybody else did it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I would say that when you grow up, and Denmark, it's not like it's in Finland or Norway or Greenland or somewhere where when it's very extreme.
Yeah.
It's still cold and dark, but it is manageable, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that for you it is totally normal because that's the way you grow up.
Yeah.
But then
I remember it affected you big time when you lived here, right?
It did affect me. I felt different, and I think I am not as flexible with weather. I mean, I push myself a bit harder these last years because I've lived in Europe for some years now. So I kind of gotten used to it. But in my city, I think we have one of the best weathers in the world. It's getting hot now, but we don't realize that there are many things that are way easier in life when you have good weather. And when you have a weather like in Denmark that is more extreme, you have a bit more of a hard time as a foreigner to adapt. But you guys, I don't know, I told you the other day, maybe that's one of the reasons why you are kind of optimistic, because you spend a lot of time in the dark, but you still have to do your routine, go to work or train, whatever, even though it's dark. And we are used to the sun, so we kind of get depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in Denmark people get depressed as well. They're just very good at hiding it.
Yes, you're right. But something that I saw here is that they use light therapy, right? Light
therapy.
Where they have these lamps.
Yeah.
So they feel happier. I actually bought one for the winter in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Because
it's a good idea. Yeah. I need to get myself one of those in the winter period.
Yes. It makes a difference. At least I feel different in the morning when I use it.
Yeah.
When I'm working in the office and I put it on, I feel a bit more energized during the day. You should try it. And the first time I heard about that was here in Denmark.
And that's also something you probably noticed it. But we have these like small businesses in Denmark where you can get in and get tanned.
Yeah.
And sometimes I use it just in the winter because I just need my D vitamin a little bit. I've tried it. Yeah. So you put like, I don't know, 50, 60 crowns into the machine, and then it starts, and you lay there for 10 minutes just to get a little bit of a sun in your life, right? But it's actually something I've thought about because I like the different seasons. I like, spring, summer, autumn. The winter, I like it, but it's just too long and too dark in Denmark. So that's something I've thought about. If I'm going to live in Denmark, I want to be able to have a job and a lifestyle where I can maybe travel more during the winter.
Yeah.
And then stay in Denmark during the summer, because I think Scandinavian summers are the best with the long nights and the sun is out and so on. So that's actually something that me, and I've also talked with a lot of other Danish people, that they are starting to think into how they want to design their lifestyle. Okay, can I have a job or a career where it's possible for me to go and travel abroad in this period of time during the year? Because it's just, it's not worth staying. It's not like winter, it's 3 months. It's like 4 or 5 months, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes spring can be horrible as well. And then it just feels like it's half a year. So it is something, that I myself think about how to create a life where you can actually do that. And that's also why I chose to kind of start my own business and, pursue that. Not only because it's interesting and fun and challenging, but also because it can help form the way you can decide yourself, where you want to work, when you want to work. And so that's also a big motivation behind it, I would say.
By the way, now that you mentioned that you started your business, can you tell me where we are right now?
Yes, yeah. We are actually in the office where we are, my small company. So this room we are sitting in right now is an old boardroom, actually, and the building belonged to something called DSB, which it still exists today. It's a Danish government-owned train organization.
Okay.
So in this area where we are right now, this is where they repair the trains still to this day.
Okay.
So they come in and people do service on them. And this actually used to be the headquarters from DSB. But today it's a place where there are many small offices, including where we have our office. So it's a startup community, you could say, with a lot of small businesses. So the place has a lot of history, and now we are sitting in this boardroom, and you can see that it's old, but it also have this kind of entrepreneurial touch to it, where we have painted the walls green and pink. So it's a fun place to be, and it aims of history, but also, you know, a new era of time where small businesses can come and work on their own projects. So we have an office, like I said, in this building, and I have a company called Plantepakken. So it's a small company still to this day. We started it 2.5 years ago, my partner Matthias and I, and today we are 6 employees in the company. So plante means plants in Danish, and pakke means package. So and that's actually what we do. We send plants in packages here in Denmark. In Denmark, there's a long tradition of giving flowers in companies to newcomers when the companies onboard their employees. And Danish companies also use it for parenthood gifts when their employees get children, or when employees get sick, then you send flowers. And I've experienced to get a bouquet of flowers myself when I've started in new jobs, and I never quite understood it, to be honest. It was a strange gift for me to receive, because it was hard to carry it home on my bicycle, and it also died after 4 to 5 days. And then I looked into where do these flower bouquets come from, and most of them, these cut flowers, are imported from Africa or Holland, so they also have a high CO2 emission. And then we came up with the idea how to create an alternative product with plants instead. Plants are more beneficial and also more environmental friendly. And then we created a product out of that. And a lot of companies luckily could see the idea behind it, and they replaced the flower bouquets with our product instead. So it's a very simple product, and and then we have actually just developed it through these 2.5 years, and now we have a business where we can pay ourselves a salary, and we have good employees, and you can say that we are going from the startup phase now to the scale-up phase, where we really want to scale the business here in Denmark, and maybe also to other countries.
That's very inspiring to see how you built this company, because I have seen this from the beginning. How long ago was it that you got started with this, when you started talking about this with Matthias?
It was actually, I had a job before when I came up with the idea, and it is probably 3.5 years ago. So I had a job in sales in a software company, and then I've always wanted to have my own business. And I've known Matthias, my partner, since high school, and I always thought if I was going to start a business, it was going to be with him, because we have kind of the same perspectives on how to run a business, and he has experience in being an entrepreneur already. And then I called him up one day, and I invited him for lunch at my place. And then I just threw it out there that I'm thinking about starting my own thing, and I was thinking about you, and maybe you would also like to get involved. And luckily he would, and then we started to brainstorm what it should be about. So we didn't get the idea that we were going to start a business with plants, but we just wanted to start a business. That's basically how it started. We didn't know with what or what it was going to be. And then we sat there and we brainstormed all kinds of different ideas, actually. And then we came up with this idea just to sell plants online to private people. And Matthias, he's from a background his family have his dad has a company where he sells plants, and he's always been fascinated by plants. So we kind of took the idea from there, and then we started up out of nothing. We created a company. That's pretty easy to do in Denmark. Luckily, you can do it online in 5 minutes. And then we
5 minutes you can create a company.
You can create a company in Denmark in
Is it like a form online or what?
It's like a form online, and you just fill it in, and then you use your online identity, and then you create a company actually.
And do you have to pay anything for that?
It depends on the company. There are different companies you can start in Denmark, but the company we started, it requires amount of money, not a lot, and then we put that money in, created the company, and then we just created a website, and then we started to see if we could sell any plants online. And long story short, it went horribly wrong. All the plants we shipped were broken and died before they arrived. So we actually lost our first investment that we made, and we were looking at each other and were close to shutting it down. But then I thought about this whole idea about giving plants to companies, employees, instead of selling it to private people. Mm-hmm. I also have a background in selling B2B products, so selling to companies. And then I thought about this new onboarding alternative, giving plants instead of a bouquet of flowers. Yeah. And then we came up with a design for that. And then I said to Matthias, I think maybe this is going to work. I'm going to try one more time. So we're going to put in more money. Are you in, or do you want to, kind of call it a day and don't do it anymore? And he looked at me, and in 2 seconds he said he was in. So then we put in the money, we made the design for the new packaging, and we developed the concept, started to reach out to companies here in Denmark, and luckily a lot of them were positive to the idea, and then we started to sell this product. And since that we have just developed it, and that is how it is it started and how it has developed, you could say, by doing it.
How was it to get in touch with these companies, and they don't even know who you are? No. Here you are trying to sell plants to them. Yeah. You make them want to buy your product. Yeah,
that's a good thing, and luckily I could say it's not easy, but it's easier because I have this background in sales, and Matthias has that as well. So I already came with it, 5 to 6 years experience of selling to companies. Not plants, but software. So I was used to calling up and reaching out to people in these companies and kind of pitch the product to them and see if it had any interests. But it started very small also. Of course, in the beginning, you also have to use the people you know and your network. So I had a good friend of mine. He was a real estate agent, and I told him about the idea, and he got his boss to buy 50 plants. So these plants we drove around. I remember to this day, me and Matthias in the winter period, we were driving around with these plants in our car and delivering these plants personally. Wow. to his clients. Yeah. Just to scrape in some money, because we had used all of our money to create the product, right? Yeah. And then we could see, okay, he got good response from that, and he ordered us to do it one more time. And then we called up, some companies in Denmark with a couple of 100 employees, and a lot of them were positive, but we didn't have any references. Nobody were using it. Mm-hmm. So it was actually telling them, we know this is a new idea. Mm-hmm. Don't you just want to try it out, get the reaction from your employees. If they like it, it's really nice. And if they don't like it, you can always go back to these cut flowers. Mm-hmm. And some of them agreed to do that, and then we kind of just developed it together with them and tested it and tried it on. Yeah. And luckily both the companies and the employees thought it was a great idea, and they got a positive reaction. So these companies became clients of us fairly quickly. So that's actually how it started, and it's just about picking up the phone, calling the main number, and then asking for who's in charge of ordering flowers. And then you kind of pitch the idea and ask some questions about what do you do today, and could you be open to this idea, and what do you think? And then you just kind of see somebody says no and somebody says yes, and the people who says yes, you can kind of have a further dialogue with them.
When you talk about it, it sounds like so obvious to you that it was going to work. Yeah. But I'm sure that at the beginning you have no idea if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
How was that process of you that you went through to not having the idea or not being involved in this company at all, to start thinking about it and then start doing things to make it happen? Was it difficult?
Yeah, it was difficult, but also the whole thing, we just wanted to start the company to make, to create our own thing, but also to make some extra money while we still had our normal jobs, you could say 9-to-5 jobs.
Yeah.
So that was actually the motivation and the reason behind. But then there come some steps where you have to, do you want to go full in on this, or do you just want to keep it, like a hobby or a side income?
Yeah.
And then it developed quite fast, and the company I worked in got sold to another company, and my role there changed a lot. So it was a fairly small company where I worked with 30 people, and then suddenly we were almost 300 people, and the company got bought from another company abroad. Yeah. So the whole cultural were different, and I had no saying no more and no influence, and was very far away from the whole, how do you say, like the leadership of the company. So I kind of wanted to, it was time to do my own thing, because I'd been there 5 to 6 years. Yeah. I've been in a factor of making it successful, and it was being sold. And then it was time to kind of try out on my own, and that fit perfectly with our own company taking off. So I could actually see in 2 to 3 months, if we keep getting new clients, we will be able to pay a small salary, and then I can actually break even, and I can pay my bills and so on. But it still takes some courage to actually leave your normal job where you have been for the past 5 to 6 years, and then just go full throttle into something unknown as starting your own company. But yeah, I got this gut feeling about I had to do it, because what if we didn't do it and somebody else did it? So I said to myself, I cannot afford not to take the risk. It's riskier to stay where I am than to actually do this. And luckily I said that to Matthias, my partner, and he felt the same way. So we agreed that we had to drop out, cancel our current jobs, and then go full on this new adventure. And then it was just all about, really working a lot in the beginning and making sure we got enough clients and developed the product. And then we could see that all the hard work we put in, it really paid off. So it actually, in 3-4 months time since we, quit our job, then we could actually, afford a decent salary to each of us, and we could hire our first employee, and we could kind of, keep on developing the company.
So first, you were doing it on the side,
yes,
kind of like a hobby, something that was bringing you money. But then there was this moment where you had to make the decision if you wanted to make it like a 100% project where you were going to invest your time and all your energy to make it succeed.
Exactly, and it has a lot to do with how your risk profile, I would say, because many people, or some people, when they start a company, they kind of quit their job, they take a loan, and then just go full on and bet everything on it. I don't have that kind of risk profile in me, so I recommend for people who have a risk profile like mine to maybe just experiment and try something and pursue the hobbies and try different things out. And then when you can feel it starts working, then you can actually, with more ice in your stomach, just say, okay, now I want to bet on this thing because I have a track record that it actually works. And what if I don't spend 20 hours each week, but 60 hours? If I quit my job, then suddenly I have 60 hours where I can work on this project. Then it can really take off fast. And that's what we decided to do. So we didn't jump full into the unknown. We kind of already developed something safely. And then when we could see, okay, this is actually a project that could work, then we said, okay, now it's time to go full in on it. But it was still difficult to do. Yeah. It's difficult to take that decision when you have never, had your own company or pursued that way before, to say goodbye to a good salary and security and colleagues and co-workers, to sit in your own bedroom and developing it from there alone. So it is a big change, but I think if you are like an entrepreneur by heart and you just cannot do it. It's impossible not to do it if you have that DNA in you, I would say.
That's what I was going to ask you. You said that when you were in your company, you kind of had this gut feeling of, I think it's time for me to do my own thing. And right now you said again that if you're an entrepreneur by heart, you should do it. You should give it a try. Where do you think this gut feeling or this entrepreneur by heart comes from? Where do you think it is built? Do you think it has anything to do with the way you grew up, or with your personality? Where do you think it comes from?
It's a very good question. I think maybe there have been some scientific investigations of people who are like entrepreneurs or start their own companies. And by entrepreneur, I don't mean like people who create the billion value tech companies. It can also be a hairdresser, or having a small shop, or selling tacos in the streets of Mexico. That's also being an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. But I think it comes. Ever since I could remember, I've always loved to sell things and to trade things. So I was that kind of kid in school. I brought my own candy and sold to the other kids. When I was a little bit older, I knocked doors around the neighborhood and offered to cut the lawns and so on. So it's always something I've enjoyed to do. So I think you can have it as a DNA in you, that you like to be your own boss and take initiative to create something. But I also think it's something you can learn. Like, I was very lucky when I studied at the university. To be honest with you, the university was not a good spot for me, because I didn't feel I learned anything, and I'm more kind of a practical learner. But I had a job as a student assistant in a small company. That was the company that I ended up working for. And there I was offered a job in sales by an early age. So I could come in, and suddenly this kind of world opened up to me, like, how do you sell things to companies? How do you create products? How do you work as a team? So that actually I was like a sponge in that period from I think it was when I was 23, 24 years old. And then I just, it was all about learning these things and attributing to this company. And also, so I learned a lot in that period, I would say. And that was actually where I found out, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to create products and sell them and build a company where we are a great team and we work together and we have fun while we work. And so that's kind of where I knew it was always what I wanted to do. But when I got the chance to actually do it practically and live it, that's when I really knew okay, creating products and sell them and working together with people you like, that's kind of what I want to do.
You said that when you were a child, you already had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Why were you an entrepreneur when you were a kid? Did it give you any feelings that you liked?
Yeah, I still remember it to this day. When it was like whenever I sold things and made my own money, it was such a good feeling.
The price, getting the price. In this case, you're talking about money, but what about the social price of giving something to somebody else? Do you think it also has something to do with
100%, because when you sell something, it's also a win-win transaction. The person who is buying this from you is also is also happy because he or her agree on the price and the product you're selling. So it is this feeling of that you convince or you kind of present something to another human being, and then suddenly this human being can see the value of what you are trying to present, and then it's a great deal for them, but also for you, and then you can scale it. That's also interesting, because I think many entrepreneurs like to create things and see them grow, and that's also something that I like, that I could. If I could buy these candy bars, I could sell them, but then suddenly I could also buy sodas and sell them. And then just how to expand things and make it bigger and scale it up and create things, that's something that really, that's something that gives me a thrill to this day also. So it's more about create things, I guess, than actually selling. It's about creating.
It's about creating.
Yeah.
When you create something, do you feel that is something meaningful to you? Do you think it's like something that goes deep into you that you want to keep doing it again, from what I understand?
I think it's more about like having a vision or an idea and then see that idea or that vision come to life.
Okay, so having an impact in the real world.
Yeah.
It's kind of like telling yourself what I think can actually become true.
Exactly. That you have this idea and then maybe you talk with some people about it and they say, I don't know about that, I'm not sure. And then suddenly you test it out and you work on it, and then it actually comes true that it can work, and your vision was not like just a crazy thought, but it was something that could be real. And that gives. I still remember to this day when we created our web shop and we got our first client who were agreed to the idea of using plants instead of cut flowers. And then when we could see the first order come in, that was the crazy feeling ever. Almost like a trip. Like everything in your body just screams that this is the happiness. It's a really, really awesome feeling, and it's hard to understand if you haven't tried it. And I hadn't tried it before that. But the whole idea about now we have created this website, we've been working on it. Yeah. We have created this product. We spent a lot of money on it, and then suddenly people want to buy your product because you put so much of your own personality into creating this product. And then suddenly people you don't know, not family, friends, and fools, but actually a person you don't know says, "Okay, I want to buy this product because it's cool or it has this feature and it's the right price." Yeah. That's a great, confirmation of what you were thinking in the first place, way behind. And that's a big thrill when you experience that.
Have you ever had the opposite feeling that what you do is not meaningful at all?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, including myself, think at times, should I be spending my time doing this? Because when you really boil everything down, as a human being, it's pretty meaningless what you're doing because you're just such a small part of the universe, right? Yeah. And you're gonna be here for such a short time, so the impact you're gonna make is like very, very small. But of course, I think it's meaningful for me to build something with somebody I like to be around. For instance, Matthias, my partner, and our employees. I really like spending time with them and building something with them. And when we do that and when we succeed, I actually find meaning in my life by doing so. And there's been a lot of scientific papers on what gives happiness to people, and I think I read some of them or heard some of them, and it's all about like connection with other people. That's actually what makes people the most happy, is the relationships they have with their spouse or their friends or their families. And this is the same thing. I have a relationship when I go to work with the people I work with. We work for like a common goal and we want to achieve something together. And that's actually what creates meaningfulness in my life work-wise. Then you can also have a lot of meaningfulness outside work, with the person you're together with, and if you have kids and so on. But you spend a lot of time working in your life, and I think it's so important to find something you find meaningfulness in, but also to do it with people you like to do it with. That's just as important, to be honest.
I think we evolved to be, we are social creatures. We evolved helping each other out, sometimes fighting with each other as well. But I think that at one point, when you have a company and you have employees, a lot of the things that happen in the company depend on you. Most of the things, the most important decisions are made by you in the company. Do you feel that the pressure that you get for us being, I don't know, the founder, the CEO of the company, the pressure that you get sometimes is too big that you question how meaningful this is for you, like this role is for you?
Luckily, I think it's a very good question. And luckily, we are a very small company. So of course, I feel a lot of responsibility for, the few employees we do have. Yeah. But I think I can understand that you have a lot of pressure if you have 50 or 100 employees. But we also have a lot of pressure for the employees we have. But they are, I've never felt like this kind of, I couldn't sleep or I was worried too much or anything like that. Like you said, I have kind of a positive mindset, and we've been very lucky with the people we have in our company. And we're also very lucky in the positions where we are now. So we are aggressive in the way we attack market and we want to grow, but we don't have a big loan or an investor who is like yelling at us in the back or anything like that.
Yeah.
We have very healthy liquidity that also helps. Like we have the money we need. Yeah. We earn money already. We don't burn money.
You have a very good CFO called Matthias.
So that helps a lot that we have but I guess if we would like make it monthly, could we make this payment monthly? Yeah. Then it would be much more stressful. Okay. But in the situation we are in now, due to some of the, choices we've made, this whole thing about being able to pay a salary and so on, it's kind of been taken care of by the setup we have. So I'm pretty confident and ease with that. But it doesn't mean that I don't have high expectations on where we need to go. Like if we don't make this into what I want to do with the company, I want to grow it and expand it and so on, then if we kind of get to a stage where we don't grow, but we just go like this, steady, then it will be a failure to me, and then I will kind of start to feel, uncomfortable, stressed and not fulfilled in what I'm doing.
And how does it feel to think that that's very likely that it's going to happen at one point?
Yeah, because a lot of startups, scale-ups, they fail. It's very few who actually succeed. Yeah. But that's also what makes it fun, that it's a challenge and you're not certain that it's going to work. Yeah. That's also what gives you the big thrill that I was talking about before. Yeah. That we had this vision and this idea that could this work, and then we find out, okay, it actually works. So that little feeling like, 20 seconds where you're high-fiving and screaming, and it's worth all the hours and days and that led up to that little bit of moment you have there. So it's crazy to think about that you spend so much time struggling, worrying, investing, working, and then the time where you actually celebrate is 20 seconds or 1 minute where you get that feeling in your body. And we are always like that. Me and Matthias, my partner, we agree that we celebrate and we are happy, but then we aim for the next thing. That's just the way we are, And that was the thing in the beginning, was just making having a hobby, making a side income to our normal jobs. Then it was about going break even, then scale it up, and now it's to keep pushing for the next thing.
You mentioned that at the beginning that having your own company would allow you to design your lifestyle.
Yes.
Have you thought about what your ideal lifestyle would be, or are you living it already?
I don't think I'm living it, but I'm getting closer to it, and I enjoy every day. Like now we are in one of the last day of two weeks of vacation, and it sounds like all entrepreneurs say, but I can't wait until Monday and come into the office again and see all the other people who work in the company and catch up and start working again. And I'm so, if I have that feeling, then I'm really, really happy where I am in life, to be honest. But I'm not at all, succeeded at what I want to do, both with the company, but also life in general. I just turned 32 yesterday, and I want to have kids and so on. And me and my girlfriend, we also have a lot of ideas on how we want to live our lives. So there's still a lot of work to do in order to be able to fulfill that. Yeah. But as long as you are happy in your everyday life, then you have made it a long way, I think.
What are some things that you would like to have in your life that you don't have right now?
I think, of course, there's the whole thing about being economically independent. Okay. Like being able to decide on who you want to work with, and I can actually do that now, to be honest, because that's also one of the good parts of being an entrepreneur. But being independent, financially independent, is still something I want to achieve.
What does that mean to you, financial independence?
It doesn't mean that I have to have, 100 millions or 200 millions or whatever. I don't think, ever that will happen with Plantepakken. Who knows? Maybe it will. But
maybe in 2 years, you're going to be surprised.
Looking back at this, but it's kind of the idea of that you can have enough income in your life that you can decide what you want to do and who you want to work with. And also the freedom to say, okay, I'm not working today and now I want to take 1 or 2 years off and just go traveling or whatever you want to do. Yeah. But you can allow yourself to do that while you have children who also rely that you have an income or so on. So that's kind of the idea that you can decide and take time out from working and then go back again and work again. Because I will always be working because I love it and I think it will be hard if you don't work because you will miss something in your life, I think, at least if you enjoy it as much as I do. But the freedom to say now I take time off and I focus on other things in life, it can be anything from traveling to learning how to play the piano or learning a new language, whatever. But you can decide that you want to put your focus elsewhere and then go back to work when you feel like that's you want to do that.
If you had an unlimited amount of money and you could do whatever you want, would you do something, an activity, for example, or a hobby that you cannot do right now?
It's a good question because I think you could actually do these things right now if you just kind of sat down and looked at your hours and designed your calendar to fit it.
You mentioned, for example, traveling.
Yes.
I know traveling is very important for you. You've lived abroad.
Yes.
You traveled to Asia. You traveled in Latin America and Mexico. Where else have you been?
I've been to the States and different countries in Europe, and I've also been backpacking in Australia, like many other Danish people. And then I lived in Mexico for 1 year when I was very young, and I took a semester also in Mexico when I was a little bit older, when I went to university. But I think it could be cool maybe to I have this dream about, renting an auto camper and then just travel around, Europe for 6 months together with, if you have kids at one point or with my girlfriend, right? That it could be awesome to take that time off and then just kind of don't have a plan, but just go day by day. And then just, now we want to go there, we want to relax. So we like this area that we just discovered, maybe we're going to stay here for a month or even longer. And then we say, now we want to experience something else.
Is there a region or like a particular country where you would like to go soon?
I think I've not experienced a lot of South America. I've never been to South America when I think about it. I've been to Mexico, right? But there are many places in Latin America that I still want to see and discover and to know more about. So I think countries like Colombia or Argentina or Peru, Chile, those kind of places, but also Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Vietnam, those places also, because the culture is so special there, I've heard.
You've never been to Southeast Asia?
I've been to Thailand. Well, that's the only place. And Indonesia I've also been to. And I loved it. I loved both Thailand and Indonesia. And I know a lot of my friends who've been to Vietnam and Cambodia and talk very warm about it. So that's on my bucket list to go there. So, but I don't know about if I could go backpacking again. It would probably be more like going with my girlfriend and if we get kids and then go there. And then take time off from our everyday life and then go and live these experiences. That's probably something I would love to do. But I don't think I will ever, like I told you, stop, building companies or create things. That's something that drives me and something I find meaning in. So I will always get back to that. I will never be a nomad and or just travel for the rest of my life. I don't think a lot of people who build things and create things are meant for that. I would actually be unhappy if I had to, travel around all the time.
You need to have stability to build something.
100%. Yeah.
What is like an extreme traveling experience that you would like to do now? That is not as uncomfortable as backpacking, but that is not arriving to a nice hotel.
It is probably going around in America or in the States or in South America, or with people you like going with on your own, like having a vehicle where you drive, like going on a motorcycle or in an auto camp or what it might be, but you have the freedom to go wherever you want to go. I would find that would be nice.
Yes.
But I'm done, sleeping in hostels and driving in these Greyhound buses all the time and sleeping there. It was amazing when we did it when we were young, me and a good friend of mine. But I think the time has run away from me where I can do that. I need my beauty sleep at night.
Me too. I think we are still young, but we are at a point where we're starting to value a few things more than like, for example, sleeping well, right? Or eating well, or
yesterday is a good example of it, right? We went out for my birthday.
Exactly.
We went to a restaurant. Before we went, we had like a cocktail at my place. We had a glass of champagne and 2 cups of wine when we were in the restaurant. Then we went to a cocktail bar afterwards, had 1 or 2 cocktails. And then we were at the point, should we continue? It was probably 11:30 at night. Should we continue to another bar or even a discotheque or a nightclub? Or should we just go home and sleep and be ready for tomorrow? Because on Saturday morning we have planned sauna and cold plunges and everything. So I think you value your time more and you think about what you want to do, spend your free time in more, right? But it's a perfect example about that we are a little more old and mature.
Yeah.
That we could actually say no to go out, even though that we talked about it, and go home and sleep instead. And then today, being ready to do this podcast and also wake up and go to the sauna, and it's crazy. It would never have happened 5 years ago.
Yeah, when we were in the sauna this morning, that the instructor was guiding us with the meditation.
Yeah.
And I was feeling like the really hot air on my face, and the perfumes are awesome. The oils, essential oils that they use are awesome. They really make me relax. I actually use them at home when I go to bed sometimes to relax. And when she was guiding the meditation, and she said, like, close your eyes, start connecting to the interior, your interior, and think about what you're afraid of, and focus more on what you want instead of what you're afraid of. When she was doing all this meditation, I was like, 9 years ago, when I was on exchange in Copenhagen with you, I would have never imagined that 9 years later, instead of getting ready to party again, we would be in a sauna doing a guided meditation in the morning, and then going into the cold plunge. I've always liked doing sports. You also always like doing sports. But I don't know, I thought it was like a huge change in the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot of people are adopting these changes in lifestyle. I am not sure if this is something related to the period that we're going through in life. Like when you get to your 30s, you start focusing more on your health and all those things. Probably it has something to do with it. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel that it's also like a mindset in which humanity is going through right now. That we are starting to value more being in peace by ourselves or with ourselves, because we have very busy lives. We're always looking at screens, always thinking, always planning, and we are starting to realize that, wait a second, we need some time to introspect, to think about ourselves.
It's very true.
And and I can see that everybody in that sauna, I mean, we were like 30 people or 20 people, something like that, and everybody was like so enjoying it so deeply. Yes. That I was like, this is not just to come to relax or just to have a good start of the day. This is more spiritual. And then after the first, because we did 3 times, after the first session of sauna that we went in the cold plunge, I got in the cold water, and I like pushing myself hard in sports or at work, whatever. And when I got in the cold plunge, I mean, it's probably the coldest cold plunge that I've done. And when I was in there, I was looking at the time, time was going by so slow because I was kind of suffering in there.
Yeah.
But I said, Corey told me, I did 18 seconds. And when she told me that, I was like, of course I have to beat that. I'm gonna do at least 19 even if I die. You know? So I got in there, and when I was there, I was suffering, but I said, I'm gonna try to do 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And at 30 seconds, or maybe 25 seconds, I started to feel like, kind of like pain in my body.
You could feel your bones?
Yeah, I could see my bones, but I looked at the girl that was sitting next to me, like so relaxed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was trying to compete, like I wanted to stay longer with her. But she looked so relaxed, and that's why I asked her, how do you do it? Because these people do it often. I think that it's kind of like part of their lifestyle.
100%.
And I feel that for me, it's already very important to take care of myself, to have a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And when I see that there's people like them that do it very often and that take care of their body, of their mind, and that can stay for 5 minutes easy in the very, very cold water, I am like, this means that there's like kind of like a movement. There's people that are adopting this into their lifestyle.
And I don't think it's a trend that's going to be gone in 2 or 3 years. I think it is a movement, like you say, that people want to focus more on their health, both mentally and physically. You also see these running clubs that are popping up in cities now, and the whole thing about people moving away from the cities and living, you know, more in the countrysides and so on. So it is something that's changing. Yeah.
I remember that one of the guys that we met today said, I hope that this sauna movement doesn't stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I was more like, the only reason why it would stop is because you stop going to the sauna, right? Because if you appreciate it, if you like it, why does it matter if other people stop doing it or not?
Yeah.
Right? If you like it, just keep doing it. You can do it. You can do it every day until you die.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's like we are awakening, like another level of consciousness, where we already went to a point where productivity is not the most important thing, and we want to get it back in touch with us, and it doesn't matter if the person next to you stops doing it, as long as you keep doing it and you feel happy with it. I think that's the most important thing. And if we all think like that, we're never going to stop doing it.
No,
because there are so many benefits. I mean, you feel so comfortable, such at peace when you get out of there. In the sauna, it doesn't make me feel as peaceful as when I get in the cold water. When I get out of the cold water, I feel like energized, but at the same time, I stop thinking about so many things because it's so freaking cold that I feel like so present.
You're forced to kind of just leave all your thoughts and other things, you know, behind. Because you cannot focus about anything else than the moment you're in right now.
Exactly.
It's the same thing when you've been doing Ironmans, right? It's the same thing when you train very, very hard at something. It's also a stress reliever. All the bullshit and whatever you're thinking about your job or career or company, or if you had an argument with your girlfriend, when you go and do sports or an ice bath, you're focused to only focus on that thing, and that is a stress relief instantly. And that's what you need sometimes in your life. You need to just put all your sometimes thoughts away and then just don't think about anything. And I think that here in Denmark, I think that Danish society is a very innovative society that adopts a lot of innovative things. Like in this case, I know that there's a Danish scientist that published a scientific study that showed how the brown fat develops more when you do cold plunges, and the brown fat is the one that is good for your body more than the white one. And that I think because of that scientific study that she did, this cold plunge is growing really fast all over the world. But now that I see that, well, I know that people were going into cold water, like it's here in Denmark, it's normal to get into cold water
all year long. But now that I see these places that are popping up where people go do cold plunges just to get started on a Saturday or whatever, that reminds me that here in Denmark, people are very innovative and they start trends that then propagate all over the world. And this trend, I think, is very healthy for society in general.
Yeah, 100%. And a good example is also, I think it's been around for many years, but it's now, when you try to do this, like what we did today, it was our first time when I've tried sauna before, you know, with also the different smells and so on. But it's the first time I tried sauna and a cold plunge. Mm-hmm. And when you try it one time, it's hard not to want to do it again, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel so good.
Yeah.
And we did it, you and me did it with our girlfriends, and we just, as a group, we had a good experience. So it's something you want to do it again when you have experienced it one time, because it created so much, you know, endorphins, and you could feel you were healthy and relaxed afterwards. So I think it has always been around, but people have been discovering it more lately and seeing all the beneficial things it can do.
Yes, during after the cold plunge today, I saw some of the girls that were there kind of like dancing, like smiling, really like they were very, very happy of doing that. And I was like, I don't think I see people smiling and that happy in the city walking around, or it's difficult to see people that happy, and just by getting in the cold water.
Yes, and also if you noticed how people were in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
People were kind of shy, didn't talk with each other, and then fast forward, you know, 1 hour when we've been through the 3 sessions, we talked with this American guy, and I could see other people were talking to each other, and some of the people there were dancing and smiling, and so it just created this great environment for people to be happy by doing these exercises that it was. Yeah.
I thought a lot of what you told me, that there are some companies that go there with their employees and they all have like a session together. Do you think that can improve the relationship or the environment in a team?
100%. Yeah, I think so. But it also, some people are also, it's a good question, because I think if you end up doing it, then it will be a great thing for the people who does it. But there are also people who are afraid of doing it, who will, you know, maybe they are ashamed of, you know, if they cannot handle it and they have to go out, or they're ashamed of, you know, showing up in a bikini or in bathing shorts or whatever. Yeah. So it can also kind of divide, you know.
You're right.
If you go there as a group of people who work together. But I think if you manage to get everybody convinced to do it, and you end up living that experience and also helping out the people who are afraid and so on, then it will 100% bring people closer together to have lived that experience.
Because getting in the cold plunge, even though it's very cold, I don't think it's dangerous.
I don't think so either.
And there's people that don't do it because they are probably afraid of the water. So that means that there's some fear, or they just don't like it.
Yeah.
But they are limiting themselves to not try something that they have never tried, or that they almost never try.
Exactly.
So actually helping them, I mean, you don't have to force them, but actually helping them get in there is probably gonna make them feel that they actually like won a battle against a fear that they have inside.
100%. And I've also heard about some companies in Denmark, and I also think it exists in other countries around the world, where it's mandatory to have half an hour of exercise every day you come to the office. Wow. Even though that you have never exercised before, then you have to go and exercise, because it's like part of working there. It's part of being, it's work time, so you're paid for exercising. But it's good for, you know, the team spirit, and to create an example how you can create a happy lifestyle. And I know that myself. If I've been out on a morning run, or I've been to the gym or played a football match, I'm better at focusing, and I'm happier, and I can, you know, put up with more stress. So I actually understand and also see the argument from the company's perspective, that it's forced on the employees to do exercise. Some would say that it's kind of extreme, but I can totally see the point of view from the company.
Yeah,
that decides to do it.
Yeah, totally. I thought that in a place like this, where there are multiple companies together in the same place, maybe an interesting idea would be to here the people that rent these offices, they offer you the service of the coffee machine, right? Which was delicious. And
yes.
Very nice coffee machine.
Yeah.
But imagine having a place like that where you also offer the sauna, the cold plunge.
Maybe even a gym. There are many places in Denmark that offers gym to the workplace. Where gym is like part of the office space.
Yeah, I think we're moving towards that. And I think if that's going to start somewhere, I think Denmark is a top candidate to make it happen. I don't know if there are places where they are already doing that.
There are, especially with the gyms. I've seen it in some offices.
Gyms, yeah.
And also like the company pay you gym membership because they want their employees to be in good shape and be healthy and be more productive. And it's scientific proven, if you do exercise, then it's less likely that you get sick with stress and you're more productive and so on. So I can totally understand the argument for doing so.
Do you think that sports have had an impact on the way you perform at work?
100%. Yeah. Not in many aspects of life. Also how you work with other people.
Yeah.
Like I've played football, and of course there's the whole aspect of training, but it's also a team sport, and you need to work together when you play on the pitch.
Yeah.
But you also need to be part of a community outside the pitch when you go to the locker room. And there's a saying, I think it was my brother who told me, like if you as a person can function in a locker room, then you have made it socially. Then you can really talk with people and interact and so on. So it's a great exercise if you already get that as a kid, how to function together in a group with other people, for instance, in a locker room. And because it is like teamwork.
I have the impression that Nordic people are not very social people.
Who? Nordic?
Nordic people.
Yeah.
But the people that I've known here in Denmark, like for example, many of your friends, they're probably outgoing with me because they know I am your friend. But do you think that here in Denmark, people are more shy, if for example in a sports team, than in Mexico? Because you also play football in Mexico, right?
Yeah, I did. I think it's something that I've actually thought sometimes about how foreigners see like Danish people, because it is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because then you also get a better understanding how your culture really is, you know.
Yeah.
When people talk about it from the outside, how they see it.
Yeah.
So I think Danish people compared to Mexico are much more shy, you know, in reaching out and getting new friends.
Yeah.
But they're just as social when you get to know them. Like when you are getting close to them and you have shared some moments and time together, they are just as social and invite you over and want to spend time with you.
I've seen a lot of videos that you post with your team, with your football team, because you guys go out sometimes partying, or sometimes you have like this. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I've seen like barbecues or little parties that you have together when you play football. You have a very. It seems that you have a very good team there, and very good energy in the team. How important is that to you for your life to feel good?
For me, it's very important. It varies among people how many friends and how often they want to see friends, and also how big of a circle you want in your life.
Yeah.
But I found out that for me it's very important to have friends close to me.
Yeah.
You can have close friends that you talk with a lot of things about, but also being part of a group of people. I found that it's so important for my happiness to be part of a community where I can participate and contribute, and we can do things together, to not feel lonely. That's important for me, because some people, they can have one or two friends and that will be enough. But I need to have like different kind of groups that I can interact with, and be together with. It's so important for me to be happy. Like again, coming back to the whole thing we talked about, what makes you happy, and there have been like scientific studies that in the bottom end it is relationships that really makes you happy, right? Like the relationship you have with your family and friends and co-workers and so on.
Do you feel lonely sometimes?
I do, but I think most people do. I like loneliness is very dangerous also from a health perspective, right? That people who feel lonely a lot can get like sick more and so on. But I'm not afraid of being alone. I would say that in that perspective, that I don't mind going out to eat alone, or I can also go 3 or 4 days without, spending time with other people. So I think all people feel alone, at times. But for me, it's not that I feel alone and it's a problem. And I also think it's healthy to have, try to be alone, live by yourself, because it's a good way to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And there are some people who have never lived alone, or who's always lived a partner since they were 7 or 18 years old and been with the same friends since high school. And I can understand why they are very afraid of being alone, because they have never tried it before. So yeah.
Do you sometimes think about death?
Death?
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, that's also like, I think you think about it when somebody close to you get, sick or dies and so on. Luckily, I have never had a close friend or any close family members who have died.
Yeah.
So I haven't experienced death or, being close to death like many others, but it's something that will happen sooner or later. So it's something, I don't think too much about it, but I wouldn't say I fear it either. But for instance, I'm conscious about it because I know it's like a clock. We have this time here, and then suddenly death is gonna be there, or not suddenly, but it's coming for you, right?
Yeah.
And I have quite old parents. They are around 70 years old, so there are some things where I think, okay, I want to experience this with them before it's too late. And that's kind of what have made me thought most about death. Is probably I have quite old parents, and then that has made me think about, I want to spend time with them, but also quality time and so on. So in that way I think about it, but it's not like I'm afraid of dying or anything like that. Not at the moment.
Yeah. Do you? You're not a very religious person, right? But you're spiritual.
I'm spiritual, yeah. Not very spiritual, but I'm not. I think there's more. There's more to life in the universe than than we're just there for a short period of time and that's it.
Yeah.
I think I do believe in that we have a soul actually that can live on when we're gone. Yeah, and that's also something I experienced living in Mexico. It's very spiritual countries, and experience, especially if you go and have the experience of see Dia de los Muertos, where you go to the graveyard and you celebrate the dead people.
You went to Michoacán, right?
I went to Michoacán.
Pátzcuaro, you told me.
Yes, so that's, you probably know it better than me, but it's like the area where it's most strong, this spirit about celebrating life of the dead.
Yeah.
So when you go there, it's very, the scene there is incredible with all the lights and the people who go there and not mourn, but like kind of celebrate their ancestors.
Yeah.
It's very, very strong and powerful to see it.
I think death is something that is not very discussed publicly. It's probably seen by many as something bad.
Yes.
There's, I think, a conscious and unconscious fear about death, and I think Mexico is one of the few places that actually recognizes that it's part of life and that celebrates not the death of our ancestors, but that they were here. They were here one moment at one point in time, and I think this celebration of, let's say, celebrate life, El Día de los Muertos, is something that got very popular recently all over the world. I think one of the main reasons is the movie of Coco.
Great movie.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of international people that want to go live that date, or that, I don't know if it's a party or that celebration in Mexico. And now there's a lot of people that go to Michoacan, and from all the people that I know that have been there, I haven't been there, I'm probably gonna go, I think I'm gonna go this year. From the people that I know that have been there, they all tell me this is, it was an amazing experience. It's something that we have to go experience.
It's so crazy. I remember it's at night and it's dark and it's also kind of cold there in that area.
Yeah.
And then you sail out to this island and it's just lit up with the lights. Wow. And this thing that's in this island is only graveyards.
Yeah.
So it's lit up with the candles and flowers and so on. So
also the smells.
Also the smells, the aromas there. So when you sail out there, just the view, and then when you finally arrive there and walk around, and there's a statue on the top of the island, it's something very, very special. Yeah. Very spiritual, like you said.
Yeah. Is there any other place in Mexico that marked you very strong from when you lived there? Like, for example, I remember you went to La Paz and all that region.
Yeah.
You've also been to the Caribbean, right? To Cancun. Yeah. Mexico City, you've been to Mexico City.
Mexico City as
Guadalajara
well.
is where you live. Veracruz.
Veracruz also.
You've been to a lot of places in Mexico. What is like one place that marked you?
I think when I arrived to Veracruz, I lived there and I actually played football there just to get some friends.
Yeah.
And I made friends because Mexico, in Denmark we have a society where we don't have real poverty. Like we are pretty even here, and people live mostly good lives here, right? And then I made some friends there, and some of them came from real poverty, to be honest. And one of them invited me home, and he lived in a container together with his mom and two sisters. And it was such a strong experience for me to come there as 17-year-old.
Like a shipping container?
It's like they kind of made it themselves.
Like a cardboard house.
Cardboard house out of container parts, right?
Wow.
Metal parts.
Okay.
So and it was like 25 square meters or something like that, where they lived, like him and his two siblings and the mom. And it was such, I arrived there and we had a dinner together that they cooked homemade, and it was such a strong experience for me to see that, because it's something I could not imagine doing while living in Denmark, right? But so that made a big impact on me, because they were happy and everything, but of course when you live under those conditions, there are some problems in life that you cannot ignore. So it was a really, really big experience for me to see that.
Can you describe this experience of having, you said, dinner with him and his family?
Yeah.
How was it?
I just arrived home, and it was after a football match actually. So we went to play football, and then I think we had planned it like some days in advance. He invited me home. I've probably been in Mexico for 2-3 months, so still fairly new there. And then he had invited me, so we took the bus after the game, and then we went to the place, and we walked through this village, of other container houses, or what you would call it. And then I came into the place, and then his mom had prepared a lovely meal, like chicken and rice and tortillas and salsas, and we had sodas and so on. And even though that I couldn't speak Spanish at that point, it was.
How did you communicate with your friend?
We were just laughing, and they were pointing, and it was about like, you're so tall, and you like the chicken, and I could understand a few words from 2 to 3 months there, right?
But did your friend speak English?
No, he only spoke Spanish.
Okay.
So so we were able to communicate through hand language and smiling to each other and so on.
Okay.
And it didn't feel awkward at all.
Yeah.
And that's also a gift that a lot of Mexican people have. They are so good at making people comfortable and inviting him to their homes and so on. So it was a great experience. Yeah. And a great meal, really good food. Yeah.
Yeah,
the food in Mexico is incredible.
I think so. Yeah. Mexico has very good food, and you're a foodie, so
I'm a foodie.
so you know pretty good that Mexico has good food. Yeah. But I haven't even lived an experience like that, like the one that you live there.
Yes, it's crazy because in Veracruz I really got to experience, or not experience, but see poverty. Mm-hmm. I lived with a very nice family there, and higher middle class. Both of them were school teachers and so on, and it was really nice to live with them. But I saw, because you are in the society, that you see poverty there. Yeah. And then the second time I went to Mexico, I went to Guadalajara, where you're from, and I studied at one of the most expensive universities there. So at the second time I went there, I was surrounded by people who came from a lot of money. And that's a whole nother experience to try to live that in Mexico, because people who have a lot of money in Mexico have a lot of money, come from wealthy families and so on. So I saw like kind of this class society where I've seen both things, and both of them are very interesting.
I think you've lived the full Mexican experience in both of your exchanges, which were pretty different one from another, but I'm sure that both of them marked you for the rest of your life, because you saw the contrast, such a big contrast in a country that is far away. And when you look back at your country, Denmark is probably one of the countries where there's the smallest difference between rich and poor. I mean, of course, you have very poor people, you have very rich people, but the amount of people that are very poor or very rich is very small compared to the middle class, right?
I think Denmark is the most country with the highest level of equality in the world. Wow. So we are very used to people kind of being the same in Denmark, even though that we come from different backgrounds and classes. But of course in Denmark there's also poverty, but not like in many countries in Latin America. It's on a different level.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, it's been already more than an hour that we're doing this. It's been a lot of fun.
And for me, a great experience. First time doing a podcast, and I'm so happy that you would like to invite me to this, because it's also a new project for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a lot of fun, a good opportunity to have really interesting conversations with people that I admire, that have done things that motivate me, and I think you have the perfect personality to do this. I want to thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you. Thank you likewise. It's been a lot of fun for me as well.